Hi there, my name is Mary Kilolea. Welcome to the To Be Bolder podcast, providing career insights for the next generation of women in business and tech. To Be Bolder was created out of my love for technology and marketing, my desire to bring together like-minded women, and my hope to be a great role model and source of inspiration for my two girls and other young women like you, encouraging you guys to show up and to be bolder and to know that anything you guys dream of, it's totally possible. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Hi, today we are so lucky to have with us Lisa Spelman. Lisa is the new Chief Executive Officer of Cornelis Networks, a leading independent provider of intelligent, high-performance networking solutions. Previously, Lisa had executive leadership roles for more than 2 decades at Intel, where she was most recently Corporate Vice President in the Data Center and AI Group and General Manager of Xeon Products and Solutions. During her tenure, she expanded Xeon's capabilities to accelerate AI workloads, establishing CPUs as a leading inference engine across the industry. Spelman also held several senior leadership roles within Intel's IT organization, including infrastructure operations and engineering, as well as positions in finance, data center, product, brand marketing, and sales. Lisa is also well known for her advocacy of women in tech, volunteering her time generously to encourage and support the growth of women in leadership roles. Lisa, it's a huge honor to have you here. I know you've been busy traveling. I appreciate you carving out some time to be here and just join us and discuss about your career journey.
Well, thank you, Mary. I'm excited to be here as well. And it's always good to kind of take a pause from the day-to-day and spend a little time thinking and talking about what's kind of going on behind the scenes.
Awesome. Okay, so first off, congratulations on your new role of CEO. That's amazing and so well deserved. For those that are not familiar with your company and your new role, can you tell us about the company and kind of what attracted you to them to take on this new leadership role?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So Cornelis Networks delivers high performance scale out fabrics that are really the backbone of how AI workloads and high performance computing workloads can run in an incredibly efficient manner, and just increase GPU utilization and improve the time to train on models, improve the throughput of inference, deliver better, faster response times for things like weather modeling, for cancer drug detection, all those really high computational use cases. And what drove me to this opportunity is actually a little bit what I was doing before, which was working at the compute layer of the system, if you will. And I had this awesome spot in the industry to see so many compute, decisions get made, so much advancement on, the GPUs, on accelerators, on custom silicon, on, just a ton of change, an explosion of change in that space over the last couple of years. And I was stepping back from the whole thing and sitting there going, you know what? The network is the next great optimization frontier. And I don't know if everybody thinks about it like that, but there is so much opportunity to improve the performance of every system by improving the network. And I just found I started talking with the team, and we were like really getting deep into it. I'm meeting with the board and being interviewed. And what would happen was I was looking at different opportunities as well, but I'd be out on a walk or I just have a moment of quiet. And I kept finding my brain going back to what Cornelis and the team was working on. And I was like, oh, you know what if we did this? And I started using the we term, in my head. And so that really stood out to me. And I took it as a sign. I'm like, this is where you're supposed to be. Like, you can help. And it's just, I love it. I'm with an awesome group of founders that have done amazing work to build the company. My skill sets are complementary and additive to theirs. And we make, I think, a really strong team, a really strong leadership team. And then we just have this, amazing group of employees. Like, the depth of their domain knowledge and experience, and the way that they fundamentally understand how every single packet should move, like, it still blows me away every day. So I'm really loving diving in, and I'm really happy with the choice I made to join this team.
Oh, that's fantastic. I just in listening to you, I can see, you appreciate the collaboration of the talent that's there and the leadership that you can bring to that. That's so cool. Okay, so I know you haven't been there that long, but can you tell me what like a day in the life of is so far?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm at 3 months, and it every day is something new. And actually, I love the variety.
Hmm.
You kind of cover everything. Like it's the whole company. Like I led divisions before and all that, but there's a lot of support that happens when it's a division, and I enjoy that. And in a day, I can have a really important customer meeting. I can have a discussion with an investor on either a current investor or a new potential investor about what we're building. I can have a deep dive with the architecture team. I can have some work on an employee policy. Like we just put in place our parental leave policy. Like we're big enough now and we want to support families. And so we sat down and said, okay, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? And so every day has different, challenges and opportunities that present itself. However, I do find you have to be pretty disciplined. And this is something that my prior experience has helped me with about really making sure you're carving out time for what is going to move the company forward.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend your whole day as an administrator. You can also choose to weigh in on everything. And that's not probably going to be getting the job done. Like my job is to lead the company to growth. Like
Hmm.
that is it. And so putting us in a position to do that and to scale is really important. And so despite all those things that I love doing and that are really interesting, I really need to focus on culture, and I need to focus on customer, and I need to focus on scale. Like, how do I scale all these big brains that we have, and really put us in the position to win? So that's where I make sure I'm carving out time so that your day doesn't get consumed by just the million of things.
Right, right. Um, so your career at Intel was, obviously very successful. You held many different roles there. Looking back, what are you most proud of from that experience?
Um, there's a lot of different things that we did there that were pretty cool. I mean, that's the thing about it's going back to the word scale. When you're at Intel, you're operating at a global scale across the whole ecosystem, every customer in the world. And one thing that always comes to mind is the work we did on the Xeon product line, building out Intel's first profitable AI business.
Mhm.
So that had some risk taking with it, and I've talked about this before, but you're taking up die space, you have software to move, you've got a lot of customers to convince. And at the time that a couple of us made that decision to go that direction, we did not have full alignment across the company. We did have to push through. And it was a big bet, and it was exciting to see it play out like that. I also have some really awesome memories of my time in IT and just cool ways we improved the user experience for our customers, which were the employees, our peers. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is the team and the culture that we created. I had a great organization that had a lot of fun tackling and solving hard problems. And I think when you can be part of a team that hard can still be fun, you're
Mhm.
on to something. And a lot of us worked together for years and built an incredibly high trust relationships. And it just, reminds me that it's all about the people. That's how everything gets done.
I 100% agree. Some of the fondest memories I have was working in a group where it was so intense, but the trust level that we had each other's back and we were in it all together just made the world of difference. It didn't seem like I would sign up for it again tomorrow if, given the
Absolutely.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so I hear, just through different various interviews of successful women that have achieved high levels of success, that they say it's lonely at the top. Have you experienced loneliness as your career has progressed up the ladder? And if so, I guess, what or how have you dealt with some of those situations and how do you focus on building that support network?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is an element of truth in that. I don't know if it's exactly loneliness, but it's high
Mm.
stakes and it's high pressure. And I think what sometimes they're really referring to is that accountability of like you own the ultimate decision. It's you. That's why you're there. That's why you have the title. That's why you're getting compensated for it. Like it's
Mhm.
your job to be seen around the corners and helping. And sometimes that means you're a little bit on your own and out there. But I will say that in general, that's not been how I've been feeling, especially in this new role. I feel, so lucky to have just gotten into this group of a network of startup CEOs that I'm getting to know, and I'm finding it hugely supportive. I bounce ideas off of them all the time. I ask for advice. We share best practices. I'm, grateful for the community, and we are all cheering for each other's success. And at first I thought, oh, geez, what am I going to bring to the table? Like I've been, a CEO for 1 minute. And then I realized, my experience at a large company is actually really useful. Like some of these folks have never worked in an environment like that. And as they're trying to align and form partnerships or build ecosystem, I can provide advice there just as they're providing me advice as we approach our Series C funding round, which is my first time doing that. The one thing back on the a loneliness thing, though, that you do have to remember, yes, as a CEO, but also in lots of leadership positions,
Mhm.
is that you have to be thoughtful about how you do engage with your team and remember that your words carry a lot of weight.
Mhm.
So you're not just a group of peers hanging out and having a chat. You can accidentally launch 1,000 ships with an offhand comment and then have the team come back and be like, okay, we've been working super hard to get this all put together. And you're like, what? Like, oh, we were just like chatting for 5 minutes before the meeting started. So you do have to be kind of thoughtful and make sure that you're not accidentally setting direction.
Um, I think that's so fascinating and kind of, I would think, a little exhausting.
There is an element of self-control
Mhm.
that comes with it. Like again, it's that reminder you're not just one of the team. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and then I also have to remind myself, and again, this happened a long, long ago. But you give up on being liked by everybody because it's impossible. Like there's no way to be liked by everyone. You can be
Mhm.
respected, but not always liked. And I've kind of cracked myself up a few times where I'm like, yeah, it's possible that I came up in a few conversations at home tonight, knowing someone was like, "Oh, she's driving me crazy," or she gave me this hard feedback or whatever. And you just have to be okay with it and be like, it's just part of the role, and it's part of how people process
Right.
and figure out what they're going to do next. So yeah.
That's great. So in reading the kind of doing some homework ahead of this meeting, you graduated with a degree in finance and marketing from the University of Washington. What led you down the tech industry B2B path?
You know, the best way I can think to describe it is that it wasn't so much that I found tech or hunted down tech. It's a little bit more that tech found me. Then once I was in, the environment, like what kept me on the path was the learning and the pace. I love learning new things. I
Mhm.
get bored if I'm not learning new things. I like pushing boundaries, and each of the roles that I have taken has put me on that exact journey. Like I did start in finance, and then I moved into marketing, and then I moved into technical sales, and then I moved into IT doing infrastructure, operations and engineering, and then I moved into product management, and then I became a GM. Like I've never taken the same job twice.
Mhm.
And then I became a CEO of a network company after spending a lot of time in compute. So um, I think you can kind of clearly see to so many people that does not look like a linear straight line path
Mhm.
to where you ended up. But for me, it kept me learning and growing, and just each one was an expansion of my, exposure and skill set.
Did you have a mentor along the way that kind of helped you with that career path?
Oh, tons. Definitely. And the other thing is, mentors, I have like a really strong belief, like they can be spot mentors
Mhm.
and they can be long, long term, and both are valid and they can kind of come in and out of your life. So you have people that are really have a great expertise, maybe in a particular area or something you're considering doing, and they can be incredibly helpful. That doesn't mean they're looking at the arc of your career, but they can help you along the way. And then you have others that are like more maybe consistent throughout the whole time. But again, good mentors aren't usually telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of asking you questions, figuring out, helping you think through what you know you want to do. You just might need to do a little self discovery to get there.
So I was reading, according to strongdm.com, as of this year, women hold approximately 17% of CEO positions in technology companies.
Okay.
And so this means for every female CEO, there's about 5 male CEOs in the tech industry. One, that's staggering. And again, we're so proud that you're taking it and you're out here showing other women that it's possible and sharing your story and insights. So greatly appreciate that. But what is your superpower in winning that role?
You know, I don't know. Maybe I should ask some of my team members and things like
Mhm.
that what they see. Sometimes it's, you try to have good perspective on yourself, but I do think as a leader, one of the things that helps, set me apart is
Mhm.
that working with people, building teams, using a lot of like logic in decision making.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people say things like, oh, yeah, build a strong team. Like, okay, cool. How do you do that? What does that mean? But I think really respecting people for their domain expertise, calling on people for their opinions and perspective,
Mhm.
making room at the table for more ideas. And I do feel like I found that over the years, um, I am pretty good at building teams for cohesion and output, and can do the 1 + 1 = 3 type of math,
Mhm.
um, in order to drive forward even in really difficult circumstances. Um, I also I do think there are some elements of natural or innate personality that draw people towards different functions as well. Um, I was the team captain of the volleyball team, and I was the team
Mhm.
captain of the softball team, and I was,
Yeah.
I held leadership positions in college and things like that. So I think there's an element of being drawn to it.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's like it's a lifelong skill, not a one day you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, now I'll be a leader.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so well said. Okay, so on the topic of career progression, many women struggle with advocating for themselves because one, either their uncertainty on what is the clear pathway for various roles, kind of that don't know what you don't know kind of thing, or because they're one unaware of the qualifications required for that role. What advice do you have for women on developing a career strategy?
Yeah. Well, this might not come as a surprise to you after I'd outlined kind of what my career path was, is not a huge believer in the straight line path there.
Yeah.
So do you sometimes think people look, they search too hard for the, if I do this checklist, then will I be guaranteed something?
Right.
And like so much has to come together for an opportunity to be the right one at the right time. And so you can really drive yourself mad and get really frustrated if you're looking at it like a like a checklist or check mark off certain things you've done, or if you get kind of super obsessed with the qualifications. I have for sure earned and garnered roles that my resume wouldn't have said that I was ready for, or that I just like had the right experience for, but I ended up being very successful in them because I had people that had seen my work, and I was sponsored into those roles saying, yes, here's this portion of the job she doesn't know, but I've seen her do this. And so I know she'll be successful.
Mhm.
So there is value in kind of exposing and sharing your skills and experiences with people so that they know about what you're capable of and what you can do. And that's how they, think about you. So on the uncertainty on career path, I tend to encourage people to, instead of focusing on again this like linear line of start here, end here, um, really doing self-exploration. And every time you face a job change or an opportunity, or if you need to push yourself to pursue one, to think through, what did I love about that last experience? What did I not like? And how do I get more towards the things I love? Again, it doesn't have to be your passion. Like, if yeah, it doesn't have to be your passion. It's just like, what activities of that role did I love, and how do I bring more of that into my life? Um, and that's kind of what's always worked for me, even if the job content was quite different between them.
Mhm. So I've known you for years, and as long as I've known you, you've been an advocate for women in tech, and I've attended many events where spoken and helped us women in the audiences. What do you see as the biggest obstacle or challenge that we must overcome in the short and long term in order for more women to want to seek out a career in tech and stay in tech?
Yeah. These are challenges, and there's not really a one answer. I do see that there's still, some unconscious bias that impacts women and minorities. And there's these kind of there's lots of women that come into tech and then bow out at a certain point. It can be demanding, and it could be a time commitment issue. It could be challenges when you first start a family at right at that point when your career is starting on this acceleration path. And it could just be that it's become uncomfortable, like so much so that you pursue another role, or you start to get held back by those expectations. So there's a lot of reasons that can derail people out. When I talk about the unconscious bias, and I see it as, I think it helps to not think of it as primarily ill-intentioned. It's
Mm,
usually not, but I've been in so many opportunities when there's been like reviewing of promotion candidates or
mm,
advancement candidates, even if it's not full promotion, or for new opportunities. And it really is true that women and minorities receive far more um, subjective feedback about
mm,
how they conducted themselves, or how they, appeared, or what their, presence was like, and kind of those areas where there's these higher expectations of
mm,
perfection there, versus focusing on the output, the accomplishment,
mm,
the thing that was done. And by the way, it's not just men who carry those unconscious bias. Actually, women carry those unconscious
mm,
biases of other women as well. So
mm,
there's no singular answer there. I do think having brave people that are willing to call that out is
mm,
generally quite helpful, and you can do that in a lot of gracious ways that allow people the chance to correct for that. Just like gentle reminders about, oh, I see we veered a little off topic of the accomplishments we were talking about, so let's actually refocus on that. It doesn't have to be like, how dare you bring this up? I'm the unconscious bias police. You can,
mm.
it's like course correct, and move back to the topic at hand, and that focus. And you can also ask questions about, well, what are you concerned about? Like, what would be the problem with giving the person this opportunity? What would go wrong? Because again, people are pursuing perfection, and if you really push them to think about what's like the worst thing that happens out of taking this risk, if you will,
Mhm.
often the answer is a very, very, very low risk. So you can help open doors for people by, kind of guiding those conversations back towards kind of more possibilities.
That example was helpful, the re-guiding. So regarding pay gaps, that's another hot topic.
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia, the gender pay gap in the United States tech industry found that despite applying for the same jobs at the same companies, women received job offers that paid less than their male counterparts 63% of the time. How can women advocate for themselves to get higher wages and raises?
Yeah. It's such a bummer, right? But I do think, again, negotiation is important, and um, it, you know, it would be nice if there was a way for this problem to be solved for women, for minorities, um, but it's probably not going to just magically happen. So is it totally fair that it falls onto the candidate then
Mhm.
to figure this out themselves? Maybe not, but it is. And so each of us, take your best shot and push for what you want and what you expect and what you think you need. So part of the way that you can do that is asking like, "Oh, thank you so much for this offer. I'm very excited about joining the company. If you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate you taking it back and doing one more review against the last 5 people that you hired into this role and making sure this is at parity and that I won't find anything surprising when I join the company and engage with my peers because I'm really excited about this opportunity." And so people think negotiation is this like hard charging, like, thing.
Mhm.
I mean, just literally listen to what I just said. There's nothing objectionable in there.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a reasonable ask. You're not asking for a boatload of extra work. You're not demanding to be paid more than anyone. You're not bringing up the pay gap or anything like this. You're just saying, like,
Mhm.
I really want to be here. And I really want to be happy today when I say yes. And in, 30 days when I'm 1 month in, like, just help make that happen. Like, that's all. So again, I think there's ways to approach some of those challenges and help close some of those gaps with a little bit of advocacy that does not have to be this like head to head hard charging type of sometimes uncomfortable for people activity.
That's such good advice. Okay, so I have another question stat conversation here for us.
Good.
According to Accenture, the proportion of women working in tech now is smaller at 32% than it was in 1984 when it was 35%. So today, women hold just 16% of the engineering roles and 27 of the computing roles in companies in the US. So these are definitely specific to more tech jobs.
Mhm.
But why do you think that is? And I think we kind of touched on it with maybe, work time and other pressures, but it's got to be something more that a woman can control and help manage so that she doesn't feel like she's just another stat.
Yeah. It's not just, again, like work time or families or whatever, things like that. Um, One of the things I think that we can do to help as a collective um, is to try and be conscious about how we form teams so that people don't find themselves in a situation of being the only one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're managing, I'm just gonna use simple math, but if you're managing a 100-person team and you got 10 teams of 10 and you have 10 women, again, just go with me on this, right? If you put one woman on each team of 10, she's the only one there. And then you can say, oh, look I've got diversity on every team I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can, but you didn't necessarily create maybe the best environment for, welcoming and attracting more. So I think there's value and validity in saying, yeah, some of these teams are actually going to be, the structure of them will end up being men only because I'm going to build teams that have 2 or 3 women on them. And then when they have 5, we might restructure a few things and work is always changing. So it's not like some big, gender balance restructure. It's just life, stuff changes,
Mm-hmm.
people move around. So you might branch off too and adjust another team and kind of grow like that. Because humans do pursue being, surrounded by comfort. Like what is comfortable to them? Where do they feel connected into? And I know to some people, they think that sounds crazy. They're like, oh, I don't care. I treat everybody the same. It's like, that's great. And it's awesome that you do. But it's more just asking for that moment of someone who says that to sit in the person's shoes that is the only one. So it's one
Mm-hmm.
thing to say you treat everyone the same. It's another to have spent day after day, hour after hour, week after week being the only one. And there's a lot of people that haven't had that experience. That said, I do think we need to pull more women into tech and keep women in tech. These are great paying jobs. They give tons of cool experience. You get to be citizens of the world. You get to have like a really cutting edge view of change and what's happening, and see so much cool stuff being built. And I think it's a great place for anyone to build a career.
I loved asking these kind of hot topic questions with you because I like your perspective. I think it's fresh and maybe not as widespread as it should be. Okay. So with AI transforming business across all sectors, there's lots of fear jobs will be eliminated. What can women, both young and older women who are I don't want to go into ageism because that's a whole other thing, but how can we skill up as women in this new area of AI?
Yeah. I don't think that I have anything that's gender specific in this space. Honestly, like
Mhm.
this is, an everyone change that we're going through. I do believe that more jobs will be created than lost. They might be
Mhm.
different. But growth begets growth has been my, general experience. So we'll see if time calls me a winner or a fool on that. But you just have to start using this stuff. Like you do not everybody that's in tech needs to learn how to build the next foundational model. That's all right. You can leave that to some experts, but there is zero excuse. There is no excuse for not being a user of these tools. And if you aren't using them and if you aren't trying them out to improve your efficiency or double check things or maybe do the basis of some research or to learn more about a domain area or something you're going into, then maybe you shouldn't be in tech. Honestly, and
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of harsh, but like you have to keep up. That's on you. And there's a lot of really great and helpful tools and capabilities out there. So um, those that do not embrace this, I genuinely believe they will be left behind.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
And I think it's a ton of fun, but there are a lot of people who are apprehensive of it. Okay, so we've only got a couple more questions while I've got you here still in the hot seat. Let's talk about work-life balance.
Okay.
Uh, how have you dealt with it over the years, and what advice do you have for other women in just setting boundaries?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I am quite a big believer in um, is investing in yourself.
Mhm.
And sometimes you invest in yourself before you actually feel like you're financially ready to. And that can take a lot of different forms. So that can be things like saying, I'm going to hire help for certain activities. Those activities might be like keeping the house clean, maybe taking care of yard work, things like that that can consume your weekend or your, after hours time. It might be help with grocery shopping or just whatever the things are in your life that have to get done. And this is one of the ways in which I have created more time, meaning more of my time away from work is able to be meaningful time with connection either with my family or with friends or with a hobby that I care about or love versus just the day-to-day life of getting stuff done. I recognize that's not necessarily economically viable for everyone, but we're talking about people that work in tech. Like these are generally fairly well-paying jobs, and I would argue there's certain sacrifices that are worth it in order to buy back time. And so, I think that's important. On the, work-life balance and the boundaries stuff, I will say, um, it's a constant, battle. I find that people are generally pretty respectful about, a certain thing, oh, I have this specific thing tonight. I'm going to be doing that, or I have this important thing I'm doing. That's fine. It is hard to get really far ahead in leadership positions or in leadership technical positions without putting in some amount of the hours, though. It's just the reality because it's not only the work that you're contributing, but it's your leadership perspective, meaning you need to have time to both talk to people and help grow them and advance your ideas. And you also have to have time to have the ideas and do the work. So I haven't found some world where there's a lot of senior leaders that don't put in extra hours at work. Again, it's not for everyone. and that's okay. You just have to understand you're making a choice. And again, I remember this conversation. It was, years ago. But it was someone who was frustrated that they weren't getting a promotion and a greater amount of responsibility. And at the same time had stated that it was very important to them to drive their kid to school and be home every day. This is before the pandemic when people work from home, be home every day when their kid got home from school. And um, and that if there was ever an issue at school, they were the ones that was going to be called and go, pick up or do whatever. That's fine. That is a choice, though. And it is hard to be in a really senior leadership position with those type of constraints on your time. And like the reality is, and some people would be uncomfortable with, the school never calls me. They're just like, oh, she won't answer. That's terrible. Some people might think like, oh my gosh, what a horrible mother. That's fine. It's just it's a reality. It's a choice. I might be in the Bay Area. I might be on the East Coast. I might be in Europe. I might be wherever. And so that's not how my family's structured, is to rely that I'm the one that's going to answer the phone every time. And that is, again, a choice.
Right.
And a decision that has allowed me the mental space and capacity to be operating at this level.
Again, I think what you're saying needs to be heard. It seems like, everyone has different, I don't even know how to, I just, again, haven't heard too many leaders, especially women leaders, come out and say truths like that, because that is a truth, no matter male, female. It's just a choice.
Yeah. And I think it makes people uncomfortable sometimes. And I recognize that. So it's like, if you can sit through the discomfort and think through it a little bit, you can say, like you said, is this actually true? Like, this is the reality of what these trade-offs are. And then you just got to get comfortable with the choice you're making.
Right. What career advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I did lots of cool stuff. I'm glad that I was, bold and carefree and was like, okay, yeah, sure. I've been in finance for a while. I should definitely do marketing. I'll figure it out. And then, oh yeah, you know what? I gotta get into sales. Let's do technical sales. I've never done that before. Of course, let's do that. So I don't know that I have like, big thing that I look back on and go, man, I should have done that different. If anything, what I've tried to maintain is, as stakes get higher, this mindset of you're betting on yourself. There's nobody better to bet on than yourself. And so again, be bold, go do the thing you want to do, and just recognize like it's gonna work out in the end. So fear is our greatest enemy of progress. It holds us back from so much. The fear of the unknown or what's coming, it holds us back. If you can just either embrace it or grit your teeth through it and just say like, I am so deeply uncomfortable, but I'm doing it anyways. Like, there's always good on the other side.
Fantastic. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
What does to be bolder mean to you?
Well, I think actually I kind of just hit on it. Like,
I know.
It is. Yeah. Like, but I'm serious, Mary, like this, concept of being bold enough to bet on you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to bet on you bigger than you're going to bet on you. And then when people do bet on you, you're going to, go and do a great job for them. You're like, I'm not going to let these people down. And so I really always want to encourage people to be creating space and time in their lives to think about like, is this it? Is this the thing I want to be doing? Is this where I want to be? And don't be afraid of both small and big changes to make that happen for you.
Thank you so much for being here, Lisa. It has been so fun talking to you and hearing about your new role. I'm excited for the future.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to have a chance to catch up, and hopefully, we gave people a couple things to think about.
Exactly. Thanks for listening to the episode today. It was really fun chatting with my guest. If you liked our show, please like it and share it with your friends. If you want to learn what we're up to, please go check out our website at 2bboulder.com. That's the number 2, little b, boulder.com.